With breaking news from the last hour, the Nebraska Department of Health and Human Services confirms SNAP benefits will pause tomorrow as the government shutdown continues. DHHS says they have a plan in place to get benefits to recipients as soon as the shutdown ends.
Today, the man accused of killing a Fort Calhoun, Nebraska priest pled guilty to all charges against him, including first-degree murder. Prosecutors say Kieri Williams murdered Father Stephen Gutzel back in 2023. Williams faces life in prison when he's sentenced next month.
The timeline is changing for Nebraska's ICE detention facility here in McCook. Governor Jim Pillen said today it will not open this week as previously planned. I saw a crane moving around shipping containers when I was there earlier today. The razor wire fence was also being tightened. The governor says some of those items came up in the final walkthrough with Homeland Security last week. He added the opening is still imminent.
The Israeli military carried out airstrikes in the Gaza Strip today, throwing the fragile U.S.-brokered ceasefire into question. Israel Defense Forces officially say those strikes came after Hamas allegedly attacked Israeli soldiers. Hamas denied any connection with that attack.
Council Bluffs leaders are considering a restrictive ordinance that could dramatically change how the city's homeless shelters operate. The proposal would require homeless people to sober up before a shelter can take them in. We'll tell you some of the other restrictions up for debate in just a few minutes.
And floodwaters sweeping across parts of Jamaica after Category 5 Hurricane Melissa made landfall in the small island nation. Melissa came ashore as the second strongest Atlantic hurricane in history. Local officials say widespread power outages are complicating assessments. Let's get